A peaceful night in New Mexico, shattered by an unwelcome visitor. One man, one bear, an encounter he'll never forget. Mid-July, near Hermit's Peak, New Mexico, Calvin Stoddard, 64, slept peacefully until a loud crash jolted him awake. Heart racing, he saw his door shattered and a large black bear mere feet away. Welcome to Bear Attack Files. Bear Break-In, New Mexico Man's Trailer, Showdown. It was a mild summer night in mid-July, deep in the foothills near Hermit's Peak in northern New Mexico. Calvin Stoddard, 64, had settled into sleep inside his 28-foot trailer home, as he had countless nights before. Outside, the world was silent, just the whisper of wind through pines and the distant chorus of crickets. Bang! A sudden crash shattered the silence. Calvin remained asleep at first, nearly snoozing through the intrusion, until a second noise stirred him. He awoke to the thump of heavy footsteps and the sound of rummaging somewhere inside his trailer. The intruder reveals itself. Heart pounding, Calvin blinked in confusion at the darkness, the metallic scent of overturned pans and the sharp odor of something wild hung in the air. As his eyes adjusted, he saw that his screen door was hanging off its hinges. Something had busted right through it. A low crunching sound came from the kitchenette. In the faint moonlight through a shattered window, Calvin finally saw it. A hulking black bear, now inside his narrow trailer, muzzle deep in a box of food it had knocked over. The creature's massive form eclipsed the doorway, its fur brushing against the cramped walls. Calvin's breath caught in his throat. The bear was only 3 feet away from his bed, practically nose to nose with him. In that chilling moment, man and beast locked eyes in the gloom. Calvin could see the glint of the bear's eyes and hear its heavy snuffle. He knew instantly that his life was in danger. Face to face with danger. For a split second, Calvin lay frozen, every muscle tensed. "What do I do?" flashed through his mind. But years of living in the wild kicked in. Calvin was an avid hunter and kept a rifle stashed at the foot of his bed, a precaution he never truly expected to use in an emergency like this. Moving slowly and deliberately, he inched his hand toward the firearm. The trailer's confines made every movement perilously close to the intruder. The bear gave a sudden huff and began to turn toward the bed, its claws scraping the linoleum. In a surge of adrenaline, Calvin lunged for his rifle. The bear reared up, big as the trailer would allow, and a guttural growl rumbled from its chest. But Calvin didn't flinch. He raised the barrel, hand shaking yet steady enough, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The gunshot exploded in the tiny trailer, a deafening boom that lit up the space for an instant. The bullet found its mark. With a furious roar that cut off into a gurgling grunt, the black bear collapsed in the narrow hallway. In the acrid haze of gun smoke, Calvin scrambled back, watching the dark silhouette of the animal fall still against the flicker of his bedside lamp. He had done it. In a matter of seconds, this quiet New Mexico trailer had become the scene of a life or death struggle, one that Calvin Stoddard survived by keeping his wits and his weapon close at hand. Aftermath and reflection. Ears ringing from the gun blast, Calvin stood in shock, staring at the massive creature sprawled only a couple of feet from where he slept. The trailer's interior was wrecked, cabinets torn open, a window shattered, and personal items strewn across the floor. If he hadn't woken up when he did, the bear might have mauled him before he ever had a chance to react. Catching his breath, Calvin stepped outside into the cool night air, trembling with adrenaline. He would later recall the encounter bluntly. "Bear came in. I killed him," he told authorities, recounting how he took action the moment he realized what was happening. By the time New Mexico game and fish officers arrived, the danger was over. They took reports and examined the scene, confirming the bear's entry and Calvin's decisive response. Calvin, still shaken, explained that in all his years living in that area, he'd never experienced anything like this before. "It's the first time. I've been here for a few years, but they're coming out of the mountains this year," he said, noting how unusual it was to have a bear break in. Wildlife officials weren't entirely surprised, however. They reminded residents to stay bear-aware during this season, when black bears roam beyond their usual territory. Each spring and summer, as bears come out of hibernation, especially during dry spells, they wander in search of water and food, sometimes venturing into human homes. The past months had been drier than normal in parts of New Mexico, a recipe for hungry bears to sniff around villages and campsites instead of staying up in the mountains. Calvin's close call is a stark reminder of how dangerous black bears can be. Though often shy, these animals are powerful predators capable of harming or even killing a person in seconds. In fact, earlier that year in May, Florida saw its first ever deadly bear attack when a 300-pound black bear mauled an elderly man and his dog. And black bears can grow huge, some over 700 pounds, as one record-breaking specimen in New Jersey showed. It's no wonder that Calvin didn't take any chances when he found one just arm's length away. His quick action likely saved his life, and possibly others, by preventing a desperate wild animal from hurting anyone that night. Lessons in Bear Country. As the sun rose over Hermit's Peak the next morning, the reality sank in. Calvin's trailer bore claw marks and broken windows, but he was alive and unharmed. Neighbors whispered about the incident with equal parts fear and relief. The story spread, and with it came an important message for everyone living in Bear Country. Encounters like this can happen to anyone in rural New Mexico, but there are steps to take to prevent attracting bears. Wildlife authorities advise residents to secure anything that might invite curious bears. Never leave food or garbage where a bear can smell or reach it. Pet food, trash bins, and even bird feeders can become easy targets for hungry bears, essentially drawing them to human homes. Sturdy doors and reinforced screens are a must for remote dwellings like Calvin's. A flimsy screen door is no match for a determined bear. Keeping bear spray or noise-making deterrents on hand can also buy critical seconds to react if a bear comes close. And above all, never deliberately feed a bear, even indirectly. A bear that learns to seek food from people is a danger to everyone. Calvin Stoddard's terrifying encounter ended with him safe, but it could have gone another way. Standing in the wreckage of his trailer, Calvin understood just how lucky he was to have woken up when he did. That night, his preparation and courage made all the difference. His story, dramatized though it may sound, is 100% true. A real-life survival tale from the New Mexico wilderness. It serves as a wake-up call to be alert and prepared when living on the edge of wild bear habitat. In the face of a midnight intruder, Calvin relied on steady nerves and a trusty rifle. The hope is that others may not have to face the same danger, but if they do, they'll remember to stay bear-aware and never underestimate these wild creatures that sometimes come too close for comfort. Thank you for watching Bear Attack Files. Please subscribe, comment, and share this video. Stay safe, especially in Bear Country.